Makes sense.
Welcome to the Buffalo Bills Cast podcast. I'm your host, Caleb. This is my co host, Alex.
What's up, guys?
And we're really happy to bring this podcast to you. It's going to be Buffalo Bills related, draft related. And obviously, the season just ended in heartbreaking fashion again to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, we're going to look at ways to try and make the roster better over the next few months. Obviously, no games going on. But we're going to start off with something I think is very interesting and important. And it's a full roster breakdown by position. Alex, do you want to start off with the quarterback?
Yeah, obviously QB1, Josh Allen. He's going to be QB1 until he basically doesn't want to be QB1 for the Bills anymore. But for backup, I'm going a little bit of a different route than the Bills have done in years past. I'm sick of spending $2-3 million on a backup. Even more, we usually spend like a couple mil on a backup. Like that money can be used elsewhere. Because if we're being honest, if Josh Allen gets injured, this team has no real chance of winning. So we might as well take a chance on a young guy in a draft where we get him extremely cheap. And then we have him under contract for 4 years while they can develop. So for me, I have us drafting a guy who some people have kind of compared to Josh Allen. Not saying he is going to be Josh Allen, but Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. Big body, can run the ball, big arm. Obviously, he's a prospect. Not saying he's going to be Josh Allen, but there's similarities in their game where if Josh goes down for a game or two, you don't have to change your offense that much. Yeah, you obviously can't. It's not going to be as good, and you'll have to simplify it, but you can still do those QB runs. You can still do some big throws. You can still do a lot of things you do with Josh, with Riley Leonard. So I think he'd be the perfect type of quarterback to sit and learn behind Josh for a couple of years, be his backup, and maybe down the line, maybe Josh gets injured for a couple of games. Riley Leonard looks good, and then you can flip Riley Leonard for like a day 2 pick or something. That's just a hypothetical out there where I think there's a lot of value in drafting and trying to develop a backup instead of continuously signing like Mitch Trubisky and Mike White, where we're just wasting cap space that can be spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot to clarify at the beginning as well. This is what we want the roster to be, or we think it can look
Yes.
like, including the draft and free agency and fixing it up to the best of our ability. I have the Bills going a similar route with KJ Jefferson out of UCF. I'm not really very particular about who the backup quarterback is. I think we both just share a mindset that I'm sick of spending $3 million on a backup quarterback. I'd like it to be 800,000 on a rookie deal, have him for 4 years, and then move on. And obviously, Josh, there's not like quarterback's really easy. You don't really have to worry about it. We have our franchise guy for hopefully the next decade. But yeah, that's I think we're going similar routes there. What do you think for running back? What do you got there?
I don't have it being changed. This was the best running back group that Josh has had in his entire career. Probably a top 5 running back room in the entire league. No reason to change it at all. James Cook, Ray Davis, bring back Ty Johnson, and bring back Reggie Gilliam. I'm including him in the running back group because even though he's a fullback, he's considered like part of that. If you look at the positional breakdown for the Bills, I think Reggie has a lot of value in special teams. He's a good guy in the kickoff game. He makes some nice tackles, and he's a very good blocker. We don't use him a lot, but we were using him in this Chiefs game, and he was blocking pretty well. He's not like totally non-existent in the receiving game. We don't really use him much there, but I have seen him have some plays there where we can catch an occasional flat or whatever. So not posed. He's going to be very cheap to bring back. We bring him back on like a vet minimum type deal. And then Ty Johnson, someone who I think he is a top 2 to 3 priority out of like the guys to re-sign. I think you give him 2 years, 5-6 mil, pretty cheap. Obviously, it's not like he's a big name guy. He needs a lot, but he's very valuable to what he do. His pass blocking, his receiving, and the fact that he can do that while also still being efficient in the run game. So he's not totally incompetent when it comes to running downs. We can use him for a lot of different things. And I really like this running back group. There's no reason to break it up.
Yeah, I have the same thing. To clarify, I have Ty Johnson at like 2 years, 7 million. It's only a little bit more. It's still in that same range. But I also have them giving James Cook a contract extension. I think he's the first guy that gets one done. I don't know about you. Do you think he's the first
Um,
one?
Him or probably I think him or Connor McGovern. I've heard they really like him. I think they definitely want to lock down this offensive side of the ball in this run game with how good it's been. You don't really want anyone to walk. And I think with McGovern, he might be the first one just because he clears up the most cap space besides Greg
Yeah.
Rousseau, which I don't know if he's going to get a deal or not. But McGovern, if we extend him, we can open up like 5 mil just like that. So I think they want to rush to get his done just because it clears up the most cap space this year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I have James Cook getting around 4 years, 48 million. It's a little bit steep, maybe somewhere closer to 45, but right in that range. I think he's going to be a premier paid running back. He's played like it to this point, and the running back market is booming again because of really Saquon Barkley made
Christian
everybody
McCaffrey
a ton of money, and McCaffrey. McCaffrey can
and
hurt the
Derrick
running back
Henry.
market now. Yes,
But I
those
don't know. I mean, McCaffrey was top 5 in MVP last year and was a catalyst of them making the Super Bowl. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like Henry, Saquon, and McCaffrey. Wow, I was blanking on his name. Those are kind of like the 3 catalysts for paying running backs because those 3 contracts have worked out so far.
I've been anti-paying running back all year up until that playoff run. I mean, James
Same.
Cook played he had the best run of games I've seen from a running back in a Bills uniform since Shady, I
Shady.
would say. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he was absolutely amazing.
I totally agree. I completely agree with that. I don't know if I'd give him 4 years. I don't really like giving running backs that many years. I would give him more 3 years in the 30 to 35 range. I just think 4 years for a running back. I'm fine with paying running back and it's proven, but their shell life is still less than other positions. And with how the injury concerns, James Cook has stayed relatively healthy, which is good, but it's still they get beat up a lot. I just don't feel confident giving a guy 4 years. Even Saquon couldn't get 4 years. He only got 3. Derrick Henry only got 2. McCaffrey only got a couple-year extension. Usually that's where the running back contracts go bad is when you give them that 4th or 5th year, is because by then they're a lot of times battling injuries or just washed. So I think 3 years, 30 to 35 is better, but I wouldn't be upset with 4 years if they work it where that 4th year is kind of just like a non-guaranteed. If they want to cut him, they can. It kind of leaves more flexibility to move money around. I just think 3 years is a better contract for the Bills.
That's fair. I think for the most part, you're going to load up that guaranteed money in the beginning of the contract, usually do with running backs. But I think another important piece is he doesn't have the mileage or touches that a lot of guys do have
That's
at
fair.
this
Yeah.
point in their career. They've used him so solemnly. I wouldn't say even solemnly. They just reserved him with using guys like Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and wow, who did we have last year?
Devin Singletary, his rookie year.
Yeah,
Latavius
Devin
Murray.
Singletary, Latavius Murray is who I was thinking of from last year. So allowing a lot of those power back snaps to go to different guys as well, I think will bode well for him
Josh
long
Allen.
term. Josh Allen, yeah,
Yeah. This is
Josh,
basically our goal line back.
yeah, Josh Allen's goal line back
Yeah.
now. But yeah, I think you can pay him 4 years, preferably 3, or for 3 really, guaranteed years, and then the 4th being non-guaranteed as well works. I'm on board with both. Let's go to tight ends.
Tight end,
I
I'm actually being a little unprecedented here. I only
mm,
have 2 guys on the 53-man roster, with Zach Davidson hopefully being a practice squad guy, where if Knox or Kincaid are injured for a game or 2, you call him up, and then if they go on IR, then you bring him up, you elevate him, you get him to the 53-man roster. But I think we don't really run 13 personnel like at all. And if we do, we could just throw Reggie Gilliam out there. I think he's a good enough blocker. Or we do this, just use Alec Anderson as that 6th offensive lineman. We rarely ever use like a Quentin Morris. I think there's more value in keeping more linemen or more receivers than a 3rd tight end.
yeah, I agree with you. I have the exact same thing. I have Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, and then I have Zach Davidson, and he's a practice squad guy. Because we both made little depth charts for reference on Google Docs, and I have 54 guys on there, and the 54th guy is Zach Davidson off the practice squad. Like you said, Reggie Gilliam can really be that tight end. And I just don't see the value in taking up a spot for Quentin Morris when I think the next position we have needs 6 guys rostered. Who do you have
Yep.
in the wide receiver position?
So I have us bringing back our entire wide receiving core. Yes, that even includes Amari Cooper. I think giving him a 1 year, 10 to 12 mil would be very smart. Give him a full year to work with Joe Brady and Josh Allen and develop that chemistry, because he just wasn't used a lot, but he had almost 2 yards per route run. When he was thrown to, he did make plays. He was valuable. He just didn't have time to really get incorporated this offense. He was traded midseason and was kind of just learn the playbook all on your own, develop chemistry with a quarterback that is very like chemistry based. Josh is someone that you have to build chemistry with. When he wants to roll out of the pocket and make plays, he's looking for the guys that he like trusts because those are the guys he's worked with. Amari, they haven't developed that chemistry yet. I don't want to give Amari more than 1 year because in 2026, our cap is going to get much, much tighter with a lot of extensions being due. So no more than 1 year. But I think this year we have the cap space. The receiving core is still super young. Give him another year to develop with someone like Amari in the room who doesn't care if he doesn't care if he gets 1 target or 10 targets as long as he's winning. So I think he'd come back on a deal like that where, yes, he's not in his prime. He's slower, but he still has I find people that say he has bad hands, they just look at the stats and, oh, he's got drops. No, he has concentration drops. He doesn't have bad hands. He actually has elite hands. I've seen him make some extremely impressive catches for the Bills. His ball tracking ability is still elite. He's still, while he's not getting open, he's one of those guys, he doesn't really have to be open for you to throw him the ball. He's going to find ways to track the ball and bring it in. So I think he has a lot of value. He takes on that number 1 guy. I really like bringing him back. And then the one guy I was adding is through the draft. Caleb has been raving about this guy a lot lately. Jalen Royals. I think it's him or Ty Fallon. Either one would fit. But Royals is better down the field, and we kind of need guys that can get open down the field to open things up underneath. We already have Khalil Shakir. We already have Curtis Samuel, who had his issues this year. I think it's injury related because in the playoffs he was arguably our second or third best receiver behind Shakir. Those 2 guys can kind of eat really underneath, and we have our 2 big body guys and Matt Collins and Keon. We kind of need someone who can get open down the field for those Josh Allen playmaking, rolling out of the pocket, deep shots, or just a play action deep shot. Hopefully Brady can cook up more of these this offseason because that's something I really wish I would have seen more of during the season that we just didn't see with how good our run game was and how big Josh Allen's arm is. I think like a play action post shots would be perfect for someone like Jalen Royals.
Yeah, what round would you have that pick? Second round? I'm guessing it would be.
I think I had him third. I think I had Royals because I did a mock trade where we traded down from 62 or 56 and we picked up Chicago second. When I was on PFN, they just offered me that. And I'm like, to move down 16 spots and pick up Chicago second. I think maybe we gave up like another like 5th or something, nothing too valuable. And I had us taking Royals at pick 72.
Fair enough. I have a similar wide receiver room. So yesterday I had Amari out, and then today I put Amari back in. I have him on.
I did the same thing.
I have him on a 1-year, $8 million contract, so it's a little bit cheaper than yours. I have I still think he could take money around 8 to 10. Not a big difference, but I have the room being Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Matt Collins, who we would bring back on supposedly. I would bring back on a 3-year deal, somewhere around 3 years, 15. I think is reasonable, maybe a little bit more.
I think I had 2 by 10, so that's basically same AAV. I just only had 2
Maybe.
years, but I'm not opposed to 3 years at all.
Yeah, either or. I think somewhere in that range is cool for Matt Collins. You get Curtis Samuel back. I think he'll be better next year because he dealt with the turf toe, looks much better down the stretch and in the playoffs. And then I have the Buffalo Bills bringing in Matthew Golden. Now, the issue with bringing in Matthew Golden that I've recognized is that means you're probably spending a 1st-round pick on Matthew Golden. And we have bigger needs on the defensive side of the football. But what I will say is Matthew Golden is arguably the best deep ball separator of anybody in this class. Really takes good angles, long strides, very fast as almost every Texas wide receiver is. And he's got really good ball tracking skills and good hands. And there's not much that you don't like about Matthew Golden. Now, the production was only at the end of the season down the stretch with Isaiah Bond being hurt, but it came at the right time. He showed everything you want from a deep ball wide receiver, and he's a little bit skinny, but outside of that, I don't really have that many concerns with him. I think he's a pretty safe pick, and you feel comfortable what you're going to get with him. A lot of these deep ball wide receivers, like a Troy Franklin per se, you worry about the hands. It's a lot of, hey, I can run really fast down the field, but I don't know where the football goes. That's not the issue with Matthew Golden. He knows where the football is going to be. He has really good feel for the game. He has really good feel for what's going on around him. doesn't put himself in tough situations, and like I said, tracks the football beautifully. So I think he'd be a perfect option. Like you said, Jalen Royals at Utah State, I'm also a big fan of. I think all Buffalo Bills fans should go look at these guys that I'm naming now. He's another really good guy tracking the ball down the field. He's 6 foot, 205. He's built much better than Matthew Golden is. He's very solid. He still runs about 4.39, 4.40, so not as fast, not blazing speed, but he's got really long strides. And he just feels really comfortable out there. You worry about the competition level at Utah State, but at every step of the way, he's looked really, really, really impressive. So I really like them. But Ty Felton, who you mentioned earlier, is a little bit different of a build of wide receiver. He is about 6 foot, 180. His 40 is probably around 4.6. But what he is a lot like Stephon Diggs, another Maryland product at wide receiver. The best route runner in the class, in my opinion, really breaks well. He has a very complex route tree, something you don't see from young guys like him a lot. And I love his footwork and his releases. It looks veteran. So if you're looking for someone that can beat man press, he had a little bit of struggles with it in the beginning of the year, but his release package being better, I think he can beat man press and really be more of a possession wide receiver. And if you're looking for more down the field stuff, Jalen Royals, Matthew Golden, even Trey Harris at Ole Miss, he's another option that you can really throw out there. But there's a lot of options at wide receiver in this draft class for the Buffalo Bills that I think we all should be really interested in, and that can just bring another element to this room. And Alex, is yours favorite Jalen Royals, or would you say you prefer Ty?
Well, I was on the Ty train for a while, but then you
I
brought up the
brought you on the
point.
Ty train too
Yeah,
because I
well,
love Ty
yeah,
Felton.
and then you brought up the point that with Ty being a 4.6 speed guy, not being as great down the field, I kind of pivoted towards like Jalen Royal type, just because we do need a better deep threat guy. And it was also part of it with Curtis Samuel playing better down the stretch. I'm like, we already have two underneath elite route runners in Shakir and Curtis Samuel. I'm kind of like, do we really need a third guy like that? I don't really think so. Um, so I think that Royals is just a better fit. I think he could learn under someone like Amari Cooper for a year on how to track the ball and become, even with how good he is down the field, become an even better ball tracker. Learning from someone like him, I think that would be a very good kind of mentee for the year until Amari's gone after next year, because there's no way we can afford to bring him back a following year. So I think Ty, but I'm also scared of this being a let's not draft Lad McConkey because he just doesn't fit us very well. And then Lad ends up being a complete stud. Because I was on the Lad train last year. I loved Lad, but I'm like, we already have Shakir. Do we really need another slot receiver? Not really. And then Lad ended up being probably the third or fourth best receiver in this class his rookie year. He was an absolute stud. And the guy we drafted, Keon, kind of struggled. So I'm just afraid that if we draft too much for need and not just who they think is the best, it could be a situation like that. So I'm happy with either one. I just think Royals, I guess, is a better fit.
Yeah, I if they draft any four of those guys, I think I'll be happy. I prefer
But who's the
like I
fourth?
think Royals, Trey Harris.
Oh, I didn't hear you say Trey Harris.
Trey Harris is like my fourth guy. I'm a little bit less excited about him. I have some more. He gives me a
I
little
was
bit more
higher on
Trey
him to
Franklin
start the year
vibes.
because he started the year like crazy for Ole Miss, but he kind of slowed down the stretch.
Yeah, I get a little bit of Trey Franklin vibes. I think he's better than Troy Franklin, but it still gives me some of those similar concerns. Regardless, I think the wide receiver room's in a pretty decent situation.
Yeah, we're kind
Just
of
one
it's kind of
more.
an average room, do a lot of different things, and really with someone like Josh Allen, with how good that run game is, that's all we need.
Yeah,
We just need average.
I think we kind of skipped over Kincaid, I feel like, real quickly, but I understand people are low on Kincaid, but I would like to mention again, and Coleman, both were injured this year multiple times. Both are still very young football players. Now, is Kincaid going to be Travis Kelsey? No. Is Keon Coleman going to be T. Higgins? No. But
Probably
what
not.
can they? Probably not. Sure. But what can they be? I think they're both very capable of being solid, reliable contributors in an elite offense.
Yeah. And I think some of the flack that Bean's getting for drafting Kincaid is unfair because when he drafted him, Dorsey was the offensive coordinator. There was a lot of passing out of 12 personnel is what we wanted. We wanted to throw a lot of this 12 personnel. Joe Brady's kind of more, and Kincaid was absolutely cooking when Knox went down. He was our second best guy behind Diggs for like that solid month and a half stretch. Then Brady gets fired. Kincaid's numbers take a dip because he's more of a run, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm fine with us being more of a run centric team to take like pressure off Josh. But because of that, we needed tight ends who could block better. Kincaid's not as good of a blocker as someone like Dawson Knox and I guess Quentin Morris, and even bringing that sixth man on the field with the sixth lineman with Alec Anderson, which is cutting into Kincaid's snaps because he's not as good as a blocker. And then when he is on the field, teams kind of like, oh, they're probably throwing if he's going to be on the field because he's not a good blocker. And I think that's part of the struggles. If he can put on some muscle this offseason, become a better blocker, I think he can kind of take that next step because then they can use him on the field for more run heavy situations than just passing situations.
I agree. He needs a little bit more just toughness to his game. It's really
Yeah.
what it comes down to. And Keon, he just he just needs time. He's 20 years
Yeah.
old or 21
Keep
now,
working with
actually.
CD Lamb, your cousin.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We
If
have
you
the
if you can learn how to run routes from CD Lamb, you can run them like CD. You could be pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think he's a 800, 900 yards a season guy.
I still think his ceiling is T. Higgins. I think there's a path where he could develop into that. Even when I was super low on him when we drafted, I'm like, the ceiling is that because of how raw he is. I don't think he hits that. I think you're right. I think he could be a good wide receiver 2 on a team, a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and a high elite offense where it's kind of this everyone eats thing. And it's totally fine with that. With someone like Josh Allen, kind of all you need. Make a couple splash plays here and there for
Yeah,
someone that's a playmaker like Josh.
I think people also discount like he had a really good stretch before he got absolutely pummeled by Jordan Poyer. Like he was
Yeah.
playing good football then. After the injury, he was kind of in a funk and just it didn't all click. But I'm not concerned about those two guys. I think they'll be fine contributors in the offense. And like also a year ago today, we thought, or even like 8 months ago today, we thought Kincaid was like gonna be elite. So
Yeah.
him having a fractured wrist, PCL injury, and a bad drop, it's not now it's annoying, and I don't think he's a franchise weapon anymore. But do I think he can be really solid in an elite offense? Yes. So I think people have gone too far on that end, and are just like, oh
Bills
yeah,
fans
Matt Howard's better.
overreacted. What a shocker.
Yeah. See, it happens.
I mean, I do the same thing, so it's fair. I actually tweeted out that Kincaid is officially a bust right after the game because I was pissed. I
I
threw my
know you did.
Kincaid jersey off and stormed in. I probably should go delete that because I don't actually believe that, but I was just fuming after the game.
Everybody was. I get it. I
Yeah.
want the offensive line's interesting. This is something I
All right. So our offense, this is what I have. I have us bringing in 10, keeping 10 guys, kind of like how we normally have with 8, 9, 10 guys. We usually like to keep a lot of offensive linemen. I have obviously the obvious one, Spencer Brown, Deion Dawkins, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance. Those are kind of like no brainers. The one starter though I don't have us bringing back is David Edwards. Not that I dislike David Edwards. I just think that Cedric Van Prangranger was like the steal of the draft among many people when we took him in the 5th round. He was a 3-year starter at Georgia and was very good. And a lot of people are high on him. He looked pretty good in the preseason and in training camp. And the expectation was he's going to take over that center spot and McGovern can move back to guard. So then that leaves David Edwards. Do you really want a backup offensive lineman being paid that much, especially if we have Alec Anderson, who we're probably going to have to pay that much? Do we really want 2 backup offensive linemen making like a combined 6-7 mil? I don't. I'd rather spend that 3-4 mil else with David Edwards. So I think we cut him, move Van Prangranger into the starter, and then you still have Alec Anderson. We bring back Ryan Vandermark, who we already kind of brought back. Then we have Tylen Grable, who kind of won the swing tackle job and looked very good in preseason practice, training camp, stuff like that. Got injured, but I still think he's fine there. And then I have us drafting a guy out of Tennessee, Cooper Mays. If I'm being honest, I don't know too much about him, but when I was looking at a couple of like draft profiles, they said he was very athletic, and I just kind of like athletes. I think that if he can learn under some of our very good offensive linemen in a Joe Brady system, kind of just a depth guy we take a shot at and a day 3 pick that can develop into a decent backup guard that's cheaper than David Edwards. And that's kind of who I have is the 10 offensive linemen. With one quick thing, Travis Clayton being on the practice squad again.
Travis Clayton's interesting. He's tackle. That's the sucky part. Is like I don't think he'll ever be a guard. We'll see what happens with him. But here's my thing: is I loved Cedric Van Granger last year going into the draft cycle, but there was one big flaw with him, which was he was freaking light. Like he was 290 pounds, and I recognize that maybe he was 295, but he was really light for a center. Obviously, or interior offensive linemen are a little bit heavier than that, and unless you're Jason Kelsey, which he's not. I think he added a few pounds this year. I think they worked on his conditioning. I think you have Aaron Kromer's your offensive line coach, and I look at the $5 million and I say, wow, we had an elite offensive line last year. I'm worried about breaking that up. Yes. But in this scenario that we are both vouching for, this would be the coaching staff looking at Cedric Van Granger and saying, I think he is just as good, if not better, than David Edwards. And I think in that situation,
I agree. And also, even if Van Granger kind of struggles, this having, I guess, your weakness in your offensive line being the center is, I feel like, the easiest to try to kind of hide because you can just call out a double teams with your guards. You can get O'Sirens, Torrance, or McGovern can kind of give a lot of chip help, and you can kind of mask the issues. I'm not saying Van Granger is going to be bad, but you can kind of mask those issues a little bit more and pass protection on run games with doing a lot of double teams. And so because of that, I think even if he struggles at the gate, I think we can kind of mask those problems where it won't really affect the offensive line because it's not like David Edwards was great for us. He wasn't bad by any means, but it's not like he was average. He was decent. He was okay. But it wasn't like we're going from having Trey Smith on the Chiefs to Van Granger. It's a career average mid offensive lineman, journeyman guy to a unknown second year guy who has a lot of potential. Like I just think it makes a lot of sense to make that. I get, the chemistry thing, but everyone thought, going from Mitch Morse to Connor McGovern and David Edwards is going to mess up that offensive line that looked really good. And the offensive line ended up being even better. So I think I'm not too worried, I guess, about that.
Yeah, my other piece to that as well is that Alec Anderson is really good depth. Vandermark's really good depth. They love Tylen Grable. And like I said, Aaron Kromer, in my opinion, is a top 3 offensive line coach in all football, maybe the best. So anything he does, I trust. So, like we said, in this scenario, the Bills look at Cedric Van Granger, who was viewed as a 3rd round center. That's highly touted for a 3rd round center is highly touted. He played a little bit preseason guard. He also played in the Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl, or not Shrine Bowl, just a Senior Bowl as a guard, and he showed some good flashes and reps. So to me, if he impresses them and they feel comfortable putting him in a starting role, freeing up $5 million is a really important thing for this team. And you can do that also by extending Connor McGovern, which I think is the other piece to this. How much money Connor McGovern gets, I don't know. That is really a slippery slope. I could see
what
something
did we
like
give him in the original contract? Was it like 8 to 10? It was like 8 to 10 mil a year.
I could see him getting 4 years, 48, something in that range. 4 years, 50.
Isn't he
outplayed.
How old is his? Yeah, well, no, that's why I'm saying he's going to get
Connor
more.
McGovern's 27. You'd be paying him to around his age 32 season, I believe.
If we
I feel comfortable with that. There might be a
yeah.
fall off in his last year, and you just guarantee less money and make him a possible cut candidate.
Yeah. Also, having that 4th year, maybe we can push money around, maybe add a void year or something in upcoming seasons. Having that 4th year kind of gives us more cap flexibility if needed. So he's more someone I'm fine with giving a 4th year over James Cook, just because guards last a lot longer than running backs. Now, so that's not. Because no, he's definitely going to get more. That's why I was trying to remember what we gave him originally. Because then I'm trying to see, trying to get a ballpark on what his extension would be. Because he would 100. I remember when we signed him, and I wasn't even a big fan of the signing. I'm like, he's very mid in Dallas. He wasn't that good, and he's been great for us. He's been
Yeah, 4 years,
Like
50 might even be lowballing.
that
It probably is lowballing
2020
him.
that 2021 to 2022 offseason, the one after the 13 seconds game, probably was Bean's worst outside of the draft, outside of rounds 2 through 6 of the draft, was probably Bean's worst offseason as the Bills GM. But then since then, he's been, at least free agency is his worst free agency. But since then, he's cooked in free agency the last 2 off seasons. He's kind
Yeah,
of made up for it a little bit, being able to move the cap around and get value out of very not big name guys like Matt Collins, Connor McGovern, Ty Johnson, these small pickups that end up being very valuable to the team.
Taylor Rapp's a big one too.
Taylor Rapp, yeah, like these are guys that were like David Edwards. They were kind of just mid-ish, thought of low-end starters or backups, and we've signed them super cheap and got a lot of value out of them. So
Yeah.
I applaud what Bean has done the last 2 years in free agency. This year now we finally have some money. Hopefully it's not a repeat of what happened after the offseason after 13 seconds where we go and give our money in the wrong places and shoot ourselves in the foot. So I'm hoping Bean learned his lesson. I think he did.
So there's some options that I really like for depth on the offensive line. To list some, I have Jake Majors, center out of Texas. Here's how I view it with centers as well. If you can play center, you can play guard in years time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Center is more difficult, in my opinion, than guard. You have a lot more responsibility. Now, guard to center is a trickier transition, but center to guard, I mean, we saw it with Jackson Powers Johnson this year. He did a pretty outstanding job as well.
Yeah, because as the center, you're kind of the quarterback of the offensive line, and you have to snap it before you can start blocking.
So, yeah, Jake Major, center. Miles Frazier out of LSU. He slipped a little bit, and I don't like him as much as I did earlier on in the process, but I'm still a fan. Anthony Belton, tackle out of North Carolina State. He is a massive human being, and he's showing out the Senior Bowl right now. He is 6'6", 336. I don't think that's the right measure. That's what PFF says, but I think he's more around 6'6", 350. He's massive. And
Damn.
now the
Big
thing
boy.
is, there's not many guys that you could put. There are not many teams you could put a 6'6" guard in there. It just makes it difficult for a lot of quarterbacks. Luckily, the Bills, you can do it. So
Yeah, because we have what, a 6'4" quarterback.
Yeah. Andy Bell might go a little bit too early, though. He's really been rising up boards. Like I said, wonderful Senior Bowl so far through 2 days. Dylan Fairchild, center, guard out of Georgia, has some center versatility as well.
Yeah.
Can do both. Those are some good options. And then Clay Webb out of Jacksonville State. He is another guy that could really rise up boards. He had some awesome reps against De'Aaron Walker. That was really impressive. And on top of De'Aaron Walker, he also had him against Ole Miss defensive tackle that you love, Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan's been showing out at the Senior Bowl, though.
He had some
if he could just learn how to keep his balance, that explosion is, you can't teach that.
Absolutely.
He's been exploding off the ball. The problem is half the time he ends up on the ground because his balance sucks, but that's more coachable.
Shout out Landon Jackson. So to go through the offense one more time, because we kind of ballparked some of the draft picks to give you guys multiple options on what you guys think. Your quarterback is Josh Allen. You draft in the late rounds or get an undrafted free agent quarterback, so it's cheaper.
Yep.
Running backs are an extended James Cook, an extended Ty Johnson, and
bring back
Davis.
Reggie.
And shout out Reggie Gilliam, Demon, given our 2-year deal.
Yep.
And then our tight ends are just Knox and Kincaid with Zach Davidson in the practice squad, and also Reggie Gilliam again. We're counting them both. He can do both things. He's amazing. Dawkins, Vandermark, Brown, Grable are your tackles. And then you have your interior offensive line being Connor McGovern, Cedric Van Pran Granger, Osiris Torrance, Alec Anderson, one of the guys we just listed as draft possibilities. Could really be any of those guys. Whoever Aaron Cromer wants, he gets. That's simple to me. Right? All those guys are good options and guys I think he would like. Now we're going to go on to the defense. This is more fun.
And then wide receiver real quick. Amari, basically bring back the entire core we had.
Receiver?
And then
you did.
Bring back the entire core we did, which includes giving Matt Collins and Amari Cooper extensions or re-signing them, however you want to put it, and then drafting a guy. The guys we named, Jalen Royals, Ty Felton, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden are some potential guys. There's this receiving class. There's not a lot of top end, but it's very deep. So there's a lot of lot of guys to kind of pick from, but those are kind of like the main four that we like, that we think fit the Bills the best. Yes, as I bring it back over to you, since you forgot about receiver, now we can talk about defense. Yes, defense, we can have a lot more fun because there's a lot more changes that probably will be made.
Yeah, we decided any defensive free agents, I want to start off by saying we're fired into the sun, except our savior, Jordan Phillips, because we love Jordan Phillips. And I don't even have him in as a roster spot. I just have like Jordan Phillips in parentheses on the edge because like I know
Oh,
he'll be back.
I have him as a roster spot. Yeah,
Fair enough. We know he'll be there
yeah,
at
that's
some
like
point.
that looks like it's the only defensive guy I have brought back that's a free agent. Yeah, it's Jordan Phillips.
I just have him as like he'll be brought back at some point in the season, and we know like he'll be around.
Yeah, because he said I'm not retiring, but I'm only playing for Buffalo. So
Buffalo.
he'll come back super cheap.
Might be week 10, but we'll have him.
Yes. He'll be there at some
So
point.
let's start off with defensive end. I think this is the most intriguing group going into the offseason. Okay, I actually put down my document. I gotta pull it back up. Let's start off by saying Von Miller. It's been good. I cut him. I'm sorry.
We talked about this. I am not opposed to cutting him. I just think that they're going to be able to work out a contract like he did last year with a lot of incentive based. He takes a big pay cut to stay with the team because he probably realizes, if not, I'm getting cut. And I think he wants to come back. I think he enjoys being here. The Bills, I think, want him back because even though he doesn't play a lot, he offers value. Again, and if we cut him before June 1st, we only save $8 million and take $15 million dead cap. I feel like there's definitely a way we can get him to take a pay cut where we save 8 to 10 mil and then he still stays on the team. So we're saving the money, but we get to keep him. So I'm not opposed to cutting him. If he's like, no, I'm not taking a pay cut, then yeah, bye. But if he will take a pay cut with another incentive-based contract like he did last year, I think that he has value on this team. His pressure numbers were pretty good. His sack numbers were okay, but I really care more about when I'm looking at a defensive end. I think pressure number is a lot more important to look at than sack number, because that's more indicative of how good you were than if you could just get a couple cleanup sacks. So I know you don't want to bring back Von Miller. I do under certain circumstances. I think there's definitely a path for him to come back on the team and have a lot of value.
Yeah, I agree. My room. So let's start off by saying Greg and AJ are back for both of us, I believe.
Nope.
Oh, I forgot you traded Greg.
I have a spicy trade. Greg
Let's
Rousseau.
Let's go through your edge room, top to bottom.
All right. Javon Solomon, AJ Epinesa, Dwayne Smoot, and Von Miller all come back. I think Smoot has a lot of value. He's a decent run defender as that fifth guy, can kind of rotate in just a couple of snaps here and there during the regular season. So we're not wearing our guys out. We don't really need him much in the playoffs, but I think he has value. Bring him back super cheap. But the spicy trade I have, Greg Rousseau, pick 56, pick 62, and a 4th-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for Max Crosby. We finally get that game-breaking defensive end that we've been longing for since Mario Williams was the last one we had a decade ago. I think the Raiders realize that they're not going to be competitive for the next couple years. Max Crosby's like, I don't want to play here if you're not going to be very good. So he's going to want out. Greg's still very young. Yes, they have to extend him, but they have the most cap space in the league over the next 3 years, so they can easily afford it, especially if they trade Max Crosby. They're going to have that money that they're giving to Max Crosby. They give to Greg Rousseau. They get a couple of extra picks to bolster out because they have just a lot of holes. They just have a lot of spots they need to fill in. So they replace Max with I think Greg Rousseau is a top 10 to 15 defensive end in this league. I don't think he'll ever develop into that elite pass rusher, which is why I'm fine with trading him. But he's an elite run defender, has elite size, gets his hands up and kind of makes the quarterback's job harder with pass deflection, stuff like that. So he has a lot of value. I think the Raiders can kind of build around him and this rebuild that they have to go through while getting off someone who's a little bit older. But he's not that. What is Max Crosby? 28?
27, 28.
27, 28. High effort, great run defender, and obviously one of the best pass rushers. He's probably on, if you're trying to rank edge rushers or defensive ends, he's probably number 4 behind Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Micah Parsons. Maybe 5th if you want to throw Trey Hendrickson ahead of him, but he's right there.
I'll play Max, man.
Yeah, but like he's like 4 or 5. Those guys. That's kind of like the consensus top 5. Max Crosby's right in there, and I think he kind of instantly takes that defense to the next level. I would really like to see, because our defense is so predicated on getting pressure with 4 guys sitting. We don't blitz a lot. I mean, I feel like this year this playoffs we did a little bit more, but we're not a big blitz team, especially on those fourth quarter drives. We love to just send 4 and get pressure. Now we have someone who can actually get pressure. I think our defense just becomes worlds better by adding someone like that.
I do agree with all your points. He really is the guy, the game break. This is why you signed Von Miller. This is why you paid him all this money to be your closer. Obviously, it didn't turn out. I'm still not mad at the move. We can't
It's just
predict
due to injury.
ACL tears.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand it from that. I was a lot more conservative and scared to make a big move because I see all the holes in the team and I'm kind of flipping back on it. Like, I don't really know what I want to do. So I guess it's still early on. I like the Max Crosby idea. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if that's enough. You might need Russo 2 seconds, a fourth, a fifth. I think he's going to be very, very, very expensive. I think he's going to be held at a premium because he's a top 5 player at the second most valuable position in football. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I have the Bills bringing back Greg Rousseau, bringing back AJ Epinesa, bringing back Javon Solomon, bringing in Calais Campbell. I know he's not like a traditional end, but he kind of plays all over the defensive line. I know he's 38 years old.
Replacement.
He's a Smoot replacement, great leader in the locker room, and guess what? The dude still makes a ton of plays in the run game somehow and still creates pressure. I don't understand how, but like every single talk to a Miami Dolphins fan this year about Calais Campbell, and they'll all.
I don't want to talk to Dolphins fans.
I mean, it's fair. It's fair. I mean, we go to school with some of them, so it's just like, they all love Calais Campbell. Every team that he played for, the fans love him. They think he's outstanding. He plays really solid football, and he's a great voice in the locker room. I wouldn't mind bringing him in. I think he's a good option. And now the more interesting pick for me, it was Mike White. After the Senior Bowl, he won't be in our range. He just won't be. I think he's gonna be edge 2, top 15. So I think you're gonna look at let me start off by saying Jack Sawyer is not an option. They might draft him, but I'll tell you he's not an option. How many good edge rushers are there with short arms, mid bend, mid athleticism? How many? Like 0? Yeah.
Not
0.
that I know of.
There's none. There might be like 1, maybe 2 outliers. I'm not a fan of betting on outliers in the first round. I'm good. Unless it's a positive outlier.
Josh Allen.
Yeah. Or unless
Brady Bean kind of staked his career on that. He's like, well, if this fails, then I'm out of a job, so I might as well swing for the fences.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the Jack Sawyer pick. It's too safe. I would rather have JT Tumlau. Like, I would prefer him.
Is that who you had us taking?
No, I have us taking Mike Green, but I just don't think he'll make it there. I think in this situation, I would trade up, and I would find Nick Scorton or James Pierce, or Shamar Stewart, who I wouldn't trade up for though. Those are my 3 options. But it's very quickly moving. I don't know where everybody's going to end up. I still love Mike Green. I don't think he's an option. So I'm leaning towards it ends up being a Nick Scorton kind of guy who's a little bit low. I don't want to call Nick Scorton low ceiling because he doesn't have a low ceiling, but he's definitely lower than a Mike Green, a Shamar Stewart. But I think any of these guys are guys I'm willing to bring in, except Jack Sawyer. And JT Tumlau in the first round is not an option. Landon Jackson.
Buy you a Jack Sawyer jersey to wherever he gets drafted.
Oh yeah, he'll be drafted to The Jets, because they're dysfunctional.
I was just about to say that, the Jets.
But I also don't like Landon Jackson. I don't think he stays on his feet enough. I really did like Landon Jackson. You watch the Senior Bowl, you watch the tape at the end of the year. He's on the ground all the time. You can't win reps on the ground. It's very simple. You're on the ground all the time. You're on your ass all the time. It does not matter. You're not winning reps. Princely Umami I am not impressed by. So my do not draft list is Jack Sawyer, Landon Jackson, Princely Umami. Everybody else, I feel okay about. JT Tula, I would not take in the first round. I'd take a second round on him. I think he's the most disrespected player in the class at the edge position now. So Tumalau, I feel okay with. I would feel really, really good with somehow with a Mike Green or James Pierce Jr. Do those guys make it to 22, 23? Probably not. I would lean towards no. But we'll see. Nick Scorton is another guy that I said I really do like. Shamar Stewart, I would trade up maybe a few picks from because he's such a freak. But yeah, those are kind of my guys for the edge position. And also, I really like David Walker. I think he's a really good option at edge. 6'2, 260, okay bend, okay athlete, but he is a grinder. You will get good reps out of him. Get him later in the draft, get another young body in there. You have your three vets in Russo, Epinesa, and Calais Campbell. You have Javon Solomon in his second year. You bring two more guys in the draft. You get a bunch of juice and young legs. I think the biggest thing with this group is they need juice. And the guys that bring juice and some bend this year, are you looking at them? It's James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, and a little bit of Scorton, who knows more power based than those guys. But those are my picks. If you can't pull off a Max Crosby trade.
All right, that's fair. Because, yeah, it's not guaranteed we're getting Max Crosby. So I have the Max Crosby route, and you have the we don't get Max Crosby route, which is probably more likely.
Yeah, that's why I went with it. Yeah.
But I don't really care. I don't have to be what's more likely. This is what I want. I want to see happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. So who do you have for defensive tackle?
In this scenario, this is where we basically just build a dominant defensive tackle group for the first time ever. Pair it with Max Crosby, and we could have arguably the best defensive line in football. I have us bringing back Ed Oliver, Dwayne Carter, Jordan Phillips. Pretty easy, obvious. And then I have us in free agency picking up arguably the best defensive tackle in free agency, BJ Hill, to be that true nose tackle. We've never really had one, as long as I can remember, since Marcel Darius was the last good nose tackle we had.
Marcel Darius before he was a fat.
Marcel Darius before he got paid was the last good defensive tackle we had. And then in the draft, I wasn't expecting this.
Last year, Daquan Jones. Last year, Daquan Jones. We will show
Daquan Jones before he tore his pec.
Yeah. So 3 weeks of Daquan Jones. Cool.
Yes. And then I wasn't expecting this, but then in the draft at pick 30, I got Kenneth Grant to fall to me. Is that very likely? Not going to say it is. Would that be awesome? I wouldn't even be opposed to trading up for him. But if Kenneth Grant is at pick 30, I don't really care who else is available. He is the most instant, easiest pick of my life. So I got Kenneth Grant in the mock draft, so I'm going to go with him. So now we have a D-line of BJ Hill and Eddie is probably like the starters for year one. And then Dwayne Carter and Kenneth Grant is like your second rotation. That would be pretty scary, especially with Max Crosby and Von Miller. And yeah, so this is a dream defensive line. So that'd be pretty cool if it happened.
Texas.
Is it very realistic that we get Kenneth Grant or Max Crosby? No, but I don't really care. BJ Hill, though, that is a very realistic pickup. I think we're going to have easily 40, 50 million cap space. We're going to need to go and get some guys. It's not a guarantee we get a top guy for defensive tackle in the draft. So instead, you make sure you get it, because we can't go into next year with just having a bunch of old ragtag guys be defensive nose tackles or undersized guys, where we just have a bad run defense every single year, where we have to sell out to stop the run against run-heavy teams, which then makes our pass game susceptible, aka against the Ravens. If we can actually get a nose tackle who can stop the run and can eat up blockers, one, it makes Ed Oliver's job easier. We see when he's paired next to good nose tackle play how good he can be, aka last year. Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, or especially Terrell Bernard's a little bit undersized. So if you get blockers on him, you can kind of neutralize him. But if you can get somebody to eat up those blockers, you can let him read and sniff things out. He is an absolute animal. Same thing with Matt Milano. So I think getting someone who can eat up those blockers would be huge. So I think BJ Hill / maybe a DJ Jones are kind of like guys I definitely want to see us get because it's not a guarantee we can get someone in the class. So that's why I went with BJ Hill just because I don't know. I just trust him a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded of a player. I think he's better against the run than DJ Jones. I think part of why he didn't look as good this year is just because Cincinnati's defense around him was so bad. I think he's just an overall a little bit better of a player. So I went with BJ Hill.
All right, for me, Ed Oliver's back. Taquan Jones is back. Dwayne Carter's back.
Ew. Cut Daquan Jones. He sucks. Post June. Save that $6 million. That $6 million is much more valuable anywhere else.
I really like the depth. I think with less reps,
He
the
sucks.
is nice.
He was terrible this year.
I'm with you. He was terrible. It's a tough cut, though.
I don't know. I think post June you save $6 million.
I think he's like a $6 million player still. He might not be. He could not be. He might not. But I think he's close enough and respected.
But here's my thing. I have Jordan Phillips back. So if we sign BJ Hill, even if we don't get someone in the draft, which I think we sign someone and get someone in the draft, even if it's not round 1, and we have Jordan Phillips, where's kind of the room for Daquan?
Jordan Phillips practice squad or just kind of like hanging
and
out.
I think you do that post June. You do the post June first cut with Daquan. You open up that $6 million. I think that $6 million can be very valuable. And the summer, say there's a crazy cut in training camp no one expected, or injuries happen, and we have to go sign someone. Having that for $6 million would be pretty big. So
it's fair. I have Tier Tart being their signing. I thought Tier Tart for the Chargers this year was outstanding. I think he's the best. He was the best run defender of any of the free agent defensive tackles last season. Obviously there was like some conditioning concern. Guess what? We rotate our guys out. I don't care about this guy can't play 60% or 50% of snap. Our guys don't play that many snaps anyways.
He's got to put on a little bit of weight though.
Tart? Yeah, he's got a low center of gravity. He'll be fine. I like.
If he can just put on like 10 pounds though, because it has him online as being 304.
I think he's heavier than that. I'd say he's more around 310. He plays a little bit bigger than that.
Like 320, then I'd be really happy.
Thing with Tart is he rated out as the 20th best run defender at defensive tackle in the NFL this season.
I'm pretty sure BJ Hill was like 12th.
They're both right in the same range. Tart has a little bit more juice. I think he's quite a bit younger at this point. But yeah. I think the more interesting piece of this is I have the Bills taking Deion Walker, who I haven't liked for the past few months.
I was going to say, I thought you hated him.
And then I'm like thinking about it, and I'm saying to myself, man, I understand you don't like his hand placement. He plays with a high pad level. The footwork is actually really awesome for his size, I will say, but like as a whole, it's a little bit sloppy. He's a little bit all over the place. He ends up on the ground sometimes. It's annoying. He's got a slender lower body, slender legs. It's a weird build, but it helps him move nimbly. It's like he's 6'6", 350 pounds, and he moves way too fast. Like, why not in the second round just say, look at this guy. He's huge. He moves fast. There's no way we're not going to take a flyer on him and hope he ends up breaking out and being a franchise guy. I am willing to take those swings now, while in past drafts, I was more like the Bills. Let's just be honest about the Bills for a minute. They've drafted safe for the past 5 years. They've been a very safe drafting team. Hey, we're going to draft
Greg Rousseau.
Greg Rousseau was not a safe pick. I'm with you there. Neither was really Boogie. But for the most part, like every team drafts projects. When we drafted Spencer Brown, most of our guys have been safer picks.
The last 3 years, I would say the last 3 years. 2021, we drafted a lot of high athletes, but I'd say 2020, I'd say the last 3 years, I agree with that.
It's been safer picks. I'm ready to take swings again. I think you need to take swings and find some franchise guys on defense. And I think Deion Walker is a good place to start. There's a lot of stuff I don't like about Deion Walker. I think he's all over the place. I think it's going to take a while to refine his game. But guess what? Everybody's been saying about him. Man, this guy works hard. What a good kid. how hard does he work on every single rep? He goes all out all the time. The motor isn't a concern. Forget what some people said about his motor and he was tired all the time. Because that's what you heard in the beginning of the season. Like, I don't know if his motor can hold up. Look how big he is. The dude works his ass off in every single rep and has been at the Senior Bowl too. The Senior Bowl stuff hasn't been perfect. He got stonewalled a few times by Clay Webb, like I was saying earlier. But the dude works every rep and he's trying things and he's got a deeper toolbox than people think he does. So I'm back on the Deanne Walker trade. I think he might even have to trade up in the second round. I'm willing to take a swing on Deanne Walker at this point in time where I wasn't before. Because guess what? I don't mind a BJ Hill, a DJ Jones, a Tierra Tart, Dwayne Carter, Jordan Phillips, Daquan Jones. What do they all have in common though? None of those guys are franchise defensive tackles.
Yeah, that's fair.
Deanne Walker is something that we don't have, and I'm willing not. Well, Jordan Phillips, but he's not. Yeah, Jordan Phillips,
We could
peak
draft
rap
we could draft the other Jordan Phillips and just have
out of
the
Maryland. I'm
Jordan
on
Phillips
board with
do it.
that too. Listen,
Now
you
he's
draft
been
him.
looking really good. He's really good against the run. I've been saying it as a joke, but I'm not opposed to drafting him
I
straight up into
saw
the
some
third
stuff about him
round, or
after the
he
jokes. He's
falls to
not.
early fourth or something. Yeah,
Yeah, he has some really good reps. He's really good against the run. There's not a lot of pass rush juice there, but like, hey, there's a little bit. And he's probably like a more like a Dwayne Carter ceiling kind of pick. But hey, I'm cool with it. But yeah, Deion Walker really rising up my personal board right now. What do you have at linebacker?
I have basically our linebacking room staying almost the exact same. Not signing anyone, not cutting anyone, but I do have us trading Balin Spector. I don't want him wearing a Buffalo Bills jersey ever again. He's god awful. That brother is terrible. No offense to you, Balin Spector, but you suck. So I have Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, Joe Andreessen, and Edufian Ulafascio. However you say that name, I don't really care. But I do have us getting another UB product in Sean Dolak.
Me too. Yeah,
I
there we
know.
go.
I think Sean Dolak is extremely disrespected. The fact that he wasn't even up for the what is the linebacker award again? The best linebacker in the nation? Is that Mike
The
Singletary or Dick Buckus? So I think
Nick Buckus Award. Yeah,
yeah, the Dick Buckus Award for best linebacker in the nation was an absolute travesty just because he played at a smaller like
respect
conference, smaller
matching.
college.
I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. He was statistically the best linebacker in football by far. He was extremely disrespected. And the one knock against him kind of going in the year was he wasn't very athletic, wasn't great in pass coverage. He had 5 picks. Like he is just all over the field. Obviously, the athleticism thing can still kind of be a concern. That's why you're not going to see him get drafted in the first couple rounds. But he's a do-it-all, a very smart guy, kind of just in the right place at the right time. And that is exactly what Sean McDermott wants out of his linebackers. He wants guys that are just going to be in the right place at the right time. Will he ever probably start? No, but he kind of reminds me a lot of Matt Milano coming into the draft prospect. Wasn't the most athletic guy, but kind of just had that knack, that instinct to make plays. So maybe shot in the dark, 5th, 6th round, you take him, and who knows, maybe he could develop in a couple years into being another stud. If not, at least I think you have as a floor a decent depth guy.
I think he'll be a really solid piece. I have the same exact linebacker room that you do. I like Sean Dolick a lot. I think that he's not as athletic as even Matt Milano was. But like you said, there's some really solid instincts. You're already familiar with him. You've had your scouts all around him all season. You know that a UB product and Andreessen transitioned very well to the Buffalo Bills system because they run some similar things and have similar concepts defensively. And I think that Sean Dolick is a perfect fit just to throw on in, get another depth piece, replace Balin Spector, get him in the 5th round. And we keep on chugging with this linebacker factory that you just keep having a bunch of depth pieces. And I am a huge fan of Dorian Williams. I want to bring that up real quick. I think he's extremely disrespected. I have him highlighted in yellow, and that means breakout. I have a breakout year coming for Dorian Williams.
How's
I
he going
think
to
they
start, though?
I think they have 3 linebackers out there more because I think he's
Mhm.
going to be that good where you can't deny him playing time.
So then
I think you're
Tehran?
going to
Less Tehran time?
not even less Tehran time. I think like you could run more Tehran on the outside, 3 linebackers, maybe rotate those corners in and out a little bit more.
Interesting. All
I
right.
think they could
All
do
right.
some interesting things and really switch up this defense because it does not work. You have to have three linebackers out there more to stop the run. I think Dorian Williams is that good as well. So, also, let's just say it how it is. I love Matt Milano. How much
I have
money
Matt
would
Milano
you be?
jersey.
How much money would you be willing to put on there that Matt Milano plays a full season next year?
That's fair. Not much money.
$0. I don't have a lot of money right now in the first place. I'm not willing to be throwing money out the window.
I'll put
I
a
love
dollar
Matt
on
Milano.
it. A dollar at plus 1,000 odds to win $10.
It's a worthy bet. We'll do
Yes.
it. We'll actually track this. I'll give you a dollar. I'll give you $10 if he plays all the games next season.
All right, and I'll give you a dollar if he doesn't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is we'll keep you guys updated.
You're Vegas, and I'm giving you my money. You're FanDuel, and I'm just gonna here take my money.
I'm giving you unfair odds.
Yes.
1 to 10 is even crazy. It should be like 1 to 100.
All right, yeah. Let's take those odds. Yeah, I'll get dollar. I'll give you a dollar. You give me $100.
25. I'm gonna 25. I'll do 25.
All right. So 1 to
Yeah. Okay.
25. All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
The Jordan Williams breakout year.
Oh, I agree. I love him.
Corner.
All right. So I have a decent amount of change to this room. Benford obviously coming back. Teron Johnson obviously coming back. Cam Lewis, even though I don't like him, I just don't see a way where he doesn't come back due to special teams, due to the fact that McDermott has a man crush on that man for some reason that I don't understand. I think Cam Lewis sucks. I have yet to watch him play and be like, wow, that's a good play. Good job. And then I have us having 5 cornerbacks. I have a signing guy in free agency, Paulson Adebo. He looked really good 2 years ago, then broke his leg this year and struggled when he came back. I think part of that. Wait, did he come back this year?
It wasn't a leg.
I thought someone was saying he can't. Sorry, I don't pay attention too much to the Saints, but I thought I saw somewhere he was out for the year. What? What'd you say?
Most boring team in football. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So I don't know, but either way, I know he was really good 2 years ago and he broke his leg. Due to that, I think we can get him really cheap, sign him to like a 2-year, $15 million deal. I don't think he's going to cost that much money. People are going to stay away due to that leg injury. And then I have us drafting Caleb's boy. He's maybe his favorite draft prospect in the draft, and Tommy Hill out of Nebraska. Yes. He's a zone stud. I don't want Tommy Hill starting the first year, kind of like Christian Benford. I would never want to see a 5th or 6th round corner being your day one starter because that's where you're going to get Tommy Hill. So Adebo can kind of be the starter year 1, and then he can kind of either maybe we cut him next year. It's maybe fully guaranteed year 1, and then year 2 you kind of cut him if needed, or we can have him just be a backup if we can afford it. Probably would end up cutting him, but I still would give him the 2 years just in case. And then that second year, kind of, you hope Tommy Hill can develop into that corner next to Benford. But I think that's a good cornerback room. You bring someone in, you draft someone late rounds, just because I think the defensive line and safety and even wide receiver, I think are better value in this class outside of the top couple guys for corner. I don't love this cornerback class, and a lot of the guys are kind of man coverage guys, and we learned with Kyrie Elam that don't work in Buffalo. So I don't really like us going corner. I want us to go corner early on. I just don't think the value's there compared to the other positions.
Agreed. No,
so that's why I'd rather draft a guy late and sign a guy and kind of just hopefully if Debo is better than Rasul and Kyer kind of gave you. It's pretty hard to be worse if I'm being honest. You kind of hope that duo can give you more production next year. And maybe if not, then hopefully that's like your only hole on defense, and the other draft picks you make, other signings you make end up kind of blocking that or making it not seem as bad. I don't know. But that's kind of what I have for the cornerback room. Benford, Cam Lewis, Teron Johnson, Debo, and Tommy Hill.
Mine's very different. You know how I haven't made any big moves yet? Haven't spent any money yet?
Yeah.
We're spending money now. Let's start off with the Christian Bedford return, Taron Johnson return, Cam Lewis, safety, corner, nickelback, whatever you want him to be. He's it. He's still on the roster. Jamarcus Ingram, I also had coming back.
I wanted him back. I think he'll be a practice squad guy. I just
I
this
put
was
him pencil
before
him in. Yeah.
I made this before I thought we were bringing back Amari Cooper. And then us bringing back Amari Cooper, having that 6 receiver, I had to try and find a somewhere to get down to 53.
Oh, I didn't take
And
anybody off. No, you're right. I had to take Jamarcus Ingram off. Okay.
yeah, I like Ingram. If we can keep him in the practice squad, that'd be cool. And maybe, and if anyone gets injured, any corner or safety gets injured, I think he's the first guy you bring off. But
Yeah, that's fair. But so yeah, Benford, Taryn, Tommy Hill, Demon. We love him. Everybody's gonna see. I'm telling you. This is my draft crush this year. Everyone's like, this dude's slow. His 40 times sucks. His
so was
press technique's
Benford's.
really good. Huh?
Wasn't Benford? Didn't he have like a 4.6 or something? Or am I thinking of someone
Yeah, they
else?
both have 4.6. They're like literally the same prospect. I've never seen anything like it. Benford is better, more physical at least. But Tommy Hill's awesome. I have us get signing DJ Reed. That was the big piece for me.
I wouldn't hate that.
I think 3 years, 40 million seems fair because you're paying him to his age 31 season. So it's a little bit
My
over than
my thought about that, then if we pay him, we have Teron, we have Benford, then what's the need for Tommy Hill? When would he ever start? In 3 years?
I love Tommy Hill. He's a gut feet.
You don't think he'll ever develop into a starter?
Good. That's you front load DJ Reed's contract.
Okay, that makes sense.
Also,
I
we
just
saw
know how much you like. I just know how much you like Tommy Hill, and I'm like, well, you know what I mean.
am I willing to bet my secondary on him? No. I feel uncomfortable.
That's fair. I wouldn't be. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to DJ Reed. I guess if we can not have to free up as much money this year, like because after like extensions and stuff like that, to free up enough money, I think to be able to afford like a defensive tackle and a corner and like all of our other depth pieces, I think we'd have to restructure some guys' contracts, which I'm not opposed to doing, but I think that kind of kicking the can down the road can hurt us more next year. So I guess I would rather send the money to defensive tackle than a corner, but I wouldn't hate DJ Reed. I guess I'm just trying to not kick the can down the road for money as
Yeah.
much.
The difference is I cut Von Miller. You didn't. I did kick
Well,
down. I kicked the can down the road with Josh Allen again.
oh yeah,
That
me too. But my
so
thing is I had Von Miller take a pay cut where you're basically saving the same amount of money either way. And then you just cut him next year.
yeah, that's fair. And I also restructured Ed.
I think I had that too. But then with all the other extensions and stuff, with like those restructurings and stuff like that, and maybe trying to have Vaughn and Knox take pay cuts, we're like 50 mil in the hole next year or something.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
ugly.
bad.
No matter what, no matter how you slice it. That's why the only person
Yeah.
really signing long term for me was that's pricey is DJ Reed. That's it.
Okay.
Like
That's fair.
I didn't even trade for Max Crosby. I got a bunch of guys on rookie contracts.
That's also fair.
But I think with Benford, DJ Reed, Taron Johnson, I'll say the safety starters have now. Rapp and Bishop. I think that's an elite secondary.
Yeah. All right. I guess are we gonna go to safety then?
Yeah.
All right. So I have Rapid Bishop. I have us drafting two guys because I don't want to bring back Damar Hamlin. I don't want to bring back any of the safeties we had besides Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. So we probably want 4 guys on the roster. So I have us drafting. I think I didn't get obviously trading one of the seconds, and then I didn't get one of the like an Xavier Watts that we both love. Someone like that. I didn't get one of those at pick 72 after I traded back. So I waited on safety till pick 108, and Latham Ransom was also unfortunately went right before me, who's also a guy I wanted. So I went with Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. Iowa has a history of producing good safety or good safety slash like slot corner, a lot of like playmakers. Maybe not always the most athletic guys, but they're playmakers. We just had a safety product, Micah Hyde, who was elite for us for a while. And he
Happy
is
retirement, by the way. Happy retirement to Micah
yes,
Hyde.
happy retirement. And with Castro, I think he is can do it all kind of. He kind of reminds me of Taylor Rapp, and I think he can be a good Rapp replacement, that box safety after next year. So that's why I kind of like that. And I have us drafting then Craig Woodson out of California late. He's an athletic guy who's a ball hawk, and I don't know, take a flyer on an athlete who has a good knack for the ball. Big play guy down the road. Maybe he develops into something. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, whatever. He's kind of just a depth piece, so we have a fourth safety. And those are my four safeties. But yeah, Bishop and Rapp should definitely be the starters next year.
Okay, I have Bishop Rapp. I have like a little like parenthesis thing going on, question mark with like Cam Lewis again. He's in like three different spots here. He's just like he's there. He's like hanging out. He's in all three spots. He does whatever you want. He's not really good at it, but like, oh, Cam Lewis is out there. Oh no, we're in a bad spot. Someone got hurt. Help us. Yeah. Ashton Davis is the free agent I brought in from the Jets. I like Ashton Davis. He's good enough for run support. He played 30% of defensive snaps almost. And guess what? I still think he's better than DeMar Hamlin as a safety.
Oh, yeah. DeMar Hamlin sucks.
So he can tackle. I'm cool with it. I think he ends up going to San Francisco and follow solid there. But I like Ashton Davis. I think he's a solid depth safety. And now there's a few options that I had. But by the way, let me just say Upton Stout. He's not really a safety out of Western Kentucky. 5'8", 185 pounds. But he's so awesome. I'm such a fan. He plays so physical and so hard every rep. I would almost just like to bring him in like the 5th round and say, you know what? You're like our new Cam Lewis, but you're actually like good at football. I really do like Upton Stout. I understand people are like, oh, he's 5'8". I'm like, I don't care. Like the dude plays physical, tough, grinding football. He's fun. Now, did I have us drafting him? No, because I'm also scared because he is 5'8". It's bad. I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to target one of these three guys because I don't think that the rest will be in our range. Sebastian Castro's 1. Kevin Winston 2. I have real worries about his medicals. I think he's going to slide even farther than people think. And then the last guy is Billy Bowman. I've kind of lightened up on him a little bit.
I was going to say, I didn't think you liked him.
Huh?
I didn't think you liked him.
I don't. Well, I haven't because he's also small, and the tackling technique is kind of iffy, and he like does this weird like cliche leg tackle, and his angles aren't great. But also, I think he has some like tools there to where I look at him and say, hey, he could be something. The missed tackle stuff's not great. I see some ball skills there. I see he takes some really good angles on routes. I think he could be something. He's pretty damn slow, so he's like every Bills safety ever. I think they'll like Billy Bowman. I'm not a huge Billy Bowman guy myself. I think they might like Billy Bowman. But like I said, I really just love Upton Stout as like a versatile secondary chess piece, which we really are lacking. That's good right now. Like a Darius Washington allowed Kyle Hamilton to be that this year. And Baltimore had a really good secondary at the end of the year. They had a bunch of chess pieces. I think we need one of those. Stout, obviously not as physically talented, I think the guy's named, but man, does he play tough. But for a recap, my safety room would, in my opinion, be Rapp, Bishop, Ashton Davis, one of the guys named, and Cam Lewis again. I would put my money on that guy being Kevin Winston, though. I think he really does slide way farther than people think. And the medical scare the crap out of everybody.
That's fair.
And you take that swing because I want high upside swings.
All right, so now I guess we just have special teams left.
Martin, Codrington, Bass.
And Reed Ferguson.
Go. I forgot.
Yes.
So
or you don't want to be the fake Reed Ferguson they have in those stupid videos at the Bills game.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I love Reed Ferguson. Best Twitter follow of all the Bills.
Why?
He's hilarious. What do you mean?
I don't follow him on Twitter.
Shit.
All right. I will later.
Remember for everybody here.
Okay.
Now, I have one last question. Before we end this, who are your 4 draft guys that you think are like the most Buffalo Bills guys ever? Like last year we looked at it like, yeah, Cole Bishop's like the most Bills guy ever. Like holy shit.
What do you mean by that?
Just like Billsy guys that you're like all these traits and this skill sets. Like this guy's a Bill.
Mike Green, he's a wrestler. He's high motor guy. Kenneth Grant for sure. I mean, Sean Dolick, I just explained how he kind of reminds me a lot like Matt Milano. UB guy. we know McDermott loves his UB guys. Obviously, Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram, Joel Andreessen. I guess I'll say Riley Leonard just because he reminds me so much of Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is the
But Josh
definition
is
of
good.
Buffalo Bills. Yes. I'm not saying Riley Leonard is Josh Allen. I'm saying he reminds me of Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is the most Bills player of all time.
It's very
That
true.
that dude bleeds. Maybe it's just because I have a man crush on him. I don't know. I
Okay,
have
here's my
I
guys.
have a Josh Allen picture and a Josh Allen pillowcase and a Josh Allen lock screen
So is it like
and a
like
Josh
the
Allen jersey.
LeBron meme where it's like it's the pillows, the
Yeah.
blankets, the what's it called? The head of the bed.
Oh, speaking of that, no, that's actually funny enough. I have a LeBron poster above my head of where I sleep. Like,
It's like you are my sunshine kind of thing going
no,
on.
it's just a
Yeah,
LeBron poster. But there's my Josh
beautiful.
Allen picture. You kind of can't really see it the angle too
I
well,
don't have
but
anything on my walls at all. My walls are empty.
yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I've been collecting posters and fat heads and stuff since I was a kid.
Fair enough.
I've my basically my walls are like, as you can see, like completely full of stuff except for like that corner. But that's because my door's always open.
Mike Green, Tommy Hill. I don't know how you forgot him. It's really
Yeah.
easy. To
Wow. You're right. I completely forgot about Tommy Hill. I guess I'd put him over Riley Leonard. I just couldn't think of a fourth. And
Xavier Watts. I think Xavier Watts is like the most Billsian guy ever.
let me switch Kenneth Grant to Latham Ransom.
And Jack Sawyer because I hate him so much, and I know they're just gonna do it.
Because if Bean doesn't piss you off at least once every draft, is he really Brandon Bean?
No, like Bean has been
He
like
pi-
my guy. Like I listen.
he
I'll
always
say
makes a draft. He makes a draft pick every year that pisses me off.
I was the biggest Kyer Elam fan on the planet before the draft cycle. Like in the draft
Me too.
cycle, way before the Bills. Like I love this guy. This guy's awesome. I know there's some zone concerns. He'll learn zone. Look at this dude, and man, like this. Look at his physical tools. He'll be awesome. The Bills drafted him. I went nuts. My dad's like, how the like, holy shit, like this is your guy, and he sucks. So you know
Yeah.
what? And then guess what? Guess who my guy was in 2023? My favorite guy in the entire draft of the Bills, Osiris Torrance. They
Oh,
drafted
oh,
Osiris.
oh! So you love them Florida guys? No, I wanted the Bills. No, that's
I
same. I
don't
wanted
even
the
like
Bills.
Florida. I just
I
love
know.
Torrance and
That's
like
kind of funny. No,
Elam.
I wanted the Bills to draft Torrance in round 1. So when he fell and we were able to get him around 2, that may have been my favorite draft picked by the Bills ever because I'm like, this dude is an absolute stud.
And then my guy last year was Leggett, which it was originally Brian Thomas Jr. before the draft cycle
Before
because
it was
nobody was
realistic
like
that we could get him.
because nobody was on him, and it was like, oh, this guy's like a second round pick. I'm like, oh, the Bills can go. This is perfect. I love Brian Thomas Jr. And then everybody got on him, and I'm like, I can't be a fan of Brian Thomas Jr. anymore because now it's like the I
The
know draft
consensus.
ball starter guide, and I'm like, I can't do it.
I know. Ball starter guide.
I'm
Brian
like,
Thomas
I
Jr.
can't
equals
like you
good.
anymore, Brian Thomas Jr. I'm sorry, I got to move to Xavier Leggett. And then
And
Xavier
Xavier
Leggett, he's
Leggett was
still
kind of shit.
awesome, funniest guy in the league. He's
I love hearing
psychic.
him talk, but he's not very good.
It was pretty bad at the end of the year. I can't lie. The numbers were not good. And this year, my
I
guy,
saw like
were Mike Green,
I
and he got shut off the board again. I
they
don't know what
they
keeps going on.
showed like like first round receivers over the last like 10 years to have under 500 yards in the rookie season. The best one was Mike Williams. The second best I think was Quentin Johnson.
Not good.
Yeah, and I mean Xavier Leggett was like had the most out of it. He was
Was it to
49.
clarify too that how many
He
games
almost
they
hit
played?
500. The Leggett played 16.
I know. Was that part of the
No, it wasn't. It wasn't clarified. I don't think so.
did Coleman have 500 yards this year?
Coleman had like 650. I think he definitely had over 500.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I
he
don't.
100% did. He had like over 100 against the Titans and then like 80 versus the Lions or whatever. Just those 2 games alone. He had 556.
Oh, let's go. He can be good still.
Mike Williams only had like 80.
And he played only in 13 games. We'll take it. He would have been on pace for like 650.
Yeah, it's because he had 51 versus Baltimore, 49 versus the Texans. He had 195 between the Seahawks and the Titans alone. So
Yeah,
then he got injured against Miami because he
three.
was like it was 50 against Baltimore, 50 against Houston, only 26 against the Jets, but that's kind of expected with their cornerbacks, and then 125-70, like back-to-back really good weeks. Then he injured his wrist against, and then after that it was
Jordan
kind of
Poyer. Sorry.
Yeah. But I'm
Jordan
not even
Poyer.
gonna blame Poyer. He was going to hit the ball out. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it was ill. It wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to injure him or anything. It was I'm going for the ball. And it wasn't like the worst hit ever. I mean, it knocked the ball out, but obviously he hit a little too high where he got the helmet. It was clearly a penalty, but and then Keanu said that drop against Ramsey.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in for our first episode of Buffalo Bills Cast, and we will see you next week. Peace.